What is good? It's an exciting day here. Today, we are going to get into rookie wide receiver profiles.
Pew, 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 pew.
What up, Jay Wayne? How you doing?
I'm all revved up and I have no place to go. So let's do this breakdown.
Let's get it. We're going to kick it off with one of the Alabama wide receivers, Jaylen Waddle. Now, Waddle comes in at about 5'10", $182. He's 22 years old and obviously out of Alabama.
So he's small and old. That's what you're telling me?
Yep, just we can end this thing right now.
Well, not too much shorter after we get into the analytics, that's for sure.
Well, sure, that's going to be another ending point, but we're gonna push.
We're trying to chop through it. Let's do it.
All right. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe or feel free to like, comment below. Maybe just don't smash any buttons. Just
Smash it.
gently go over there, treat your computer like a lady, and click those buttons for us. We're going to be doing these through the top, 5 to 10 guys at each position. So go ahead and make sure you get that little alert button so it comes right to your little fingertips when we put out the next one, which I believe will be Rashad Bateman. But let's focus on Waddle here and get into the breakdown. Waddle is a Texas guy from the Houston area, Bel Air to be exact. He attended Episcopal High School, where he was a 4-star recruit, according to multiple websites. He was the 5th best wide receiver and the 39th overall prospect in that year's recruiting class, according to 24/7 Sports composite rankings.
There's not 247 sports.
Whatever.
It's definitely 24/7.
A couple of interesting quotes from his high school time. There was a Division I coach at a top 10 school in the country that said he had never seen a high school receiver as dynamic as you are. That quote coming from a scout telling Waddle's high school coach. And then a quote from Alabama's Nick Saban. He's got great quickness and change of direction and run after catch ability. Really outstanding overall receiver, but would really work well for us in the slot. He's got really good run after the catch speed, sweep type ability, and maybe just a little bit different than some of the guys we have here right now, which is a really good thing. And what an intuitive comment by Nick Saban there, because coach, he really did crush in the slot and can do all of those crazy things out of the backfield.
Yeah, I don't like Nick Saban, but I like that quote. And it's not fair that they had Jaylen Waddle in the slot there with all those beasts. It's just not fair.
So let's get into the college days. There's a little bit of bad news. The bad dominator, 24.1 in the 32nd percentile, so not good. Breakout age, 21.8, not good, 20th percentile. So the analytics community, be interested to see where they land on them. You can go check out, if you don't know what all that stuff means, you can go check that out at Player Profile, RotoViz, Peter Howard. There's multiple articles out there explaining of how all these works and the different hit rates associated with them. But we're going to press on, even though we could stop right there, because a lot of people might think that that's, or at least some people might think that's all you need to know. But there is a decent amount of gray area and context that needs to go along with Jaylen Waddle. Now, he's going to fall short in both areas of college dominator and breakout. And you're also not going to be able to see the combine scores, which I believe in all likelihood would help Jaylen Waddle. Why did he not have a young breakout age or crazy market share? Well, Alabama just happened to weirdly have a whole bunch of really talented players before Waddle even stepped foot on campus. Devontae Smith, this year's Heisman winner, maybe even the first receiver off the board. I'm not making these things up. Some people have him there. A lot of people like Jamar Chase. The analytics crowd may not like Devontae Smith either. I digress. Henry Ruggs is there. Jerry Jeudy there. Both first-round receivers in last year's draft. Irv Smith there. Great tight end. Second-round pick. 50th overall in the draft before last year's draft, so 2019. And to go along with all that, they had a great stable of running backs his entire career, starting with Josh Jacobs, Damian Harris, and what is likely to be a first-round or top of the second-round pick in Najee Harris. All studs and could probably win games by just throwing it and running it with those guys. So a little bit of a logjam of greatness and really effective players there. So kind of hard to get on the field. But despite all of that, Waddle gets on the field where most guys wouldn't even sniffed it. And he did. If you smell. Now, he did make an immediate impact, but not enough impact to affect the overall breakout age of the Dominator there. 45 catches for 848 yards, 7 receptions, 7 receiving touchdowns, averaged 18.8 yards per reception. Decent as a true freshman. And then 359 of those yards came after the catch. So something that Waddle does very well is that, what was it? Not to mention, you can little nuance to his game. He makes people awfully sweaty when you kick it to him, whether it's punt or kick returns. So you move. That's the 18 year. You move to 19.
So he didn't have a good college, or didn't have a young breakout age, but he came into this stacked Alabama team as a true frosh and was making immediate impacts, both receiving the ball, averaging a big yards per catch, and in the return game. Just versatile, everything you want from this guy. And so, but somehow he was too old.
Yeah, but we're gonna still roll. We're still working through it. I think we like Waddle enough to keep going. So we're gonna keep going here.
Okay, sorry, I thought we were over.
Another solid year in 19, but still a ton of that talent that we mentioned before. Basically, everyone's still there outside of Josh Jacobs and Irv Smith. So he has 33 catches in 19, 560 yards, 17 yards per reception, still pretty decent. 6 more receiving touchdowns, 1 punt return touchdown, 487 more yards in that department. And then at the end of the year, when things are starting to get tight, you're going to the Iron Bowl, conference championship, all those things, they start to put him back in the kick return area. And he has that crazy game against Auburn where he adds 132 more yards and a touchdown on the kick returns, which I think he already had 3 other touchdowns in that game solely receiving. Right.
Yeah, he tore them boys up. That was a joke.
So just another little reminder, in 2018 and 19, 18.8 yards in 2018 yards per reception, and 2019, 17 yards per reception. Just want to keep hammering you with those because to me, that's making an impact. Now, like Nick said, mentioned above, very swami of him to predict the future there. But he did indeed do a decent amount of damage out of the slot. You could see an 18, 71%. In the slot, 1989.4% in the slot, and then 20, the least amount in the slot, but not a crazy amount less.
But he's starting to move outside.
Right. So you don't see a crazy shift away from the slot in 20, but you definitely start to see him used more in those kind of jet sweeps, those screens, a little bit more out of the backfield, and some more outside action.
He was smashing the screen.
Absolutely. So in 2020, more just becoming the man.
Finally, he gets to be the man, right? 2020, baby. Let's go.
Right. Even Devontae Smith is there. And while both are on the field, Jaylen Waddle is probably the guy looking like the best player on the field, not to take anything away from Devontae Smith, because he absolutely crushed it. You know, there's a dominant player on the other side who may have just had the best college season that anybody has had in a very long time, maybe ever, and won the Heisman. And Waddle's still able to get opportunities and targets when there isn't, 10 other dudes who are first round draft picks on the field.
Right. And I think looking at his targets per game over the course of his career really tell the story. And so we're having to prorate basically 2020 because it was cut short with that injury, which was a huge bummer.
As a bummer of an injury for sure.
Right. But you saw those first 4 games he played. He was out there dominating, right? Comes out and averages 7.3 targets per game, a huge jump up, more than double from the year before. Now we're only counting the first 4 games of the season in that stat. If you want to go ahead and throw in the national championship, where he probably shouldn't have played. He even said they had him out there as a decoy. You want to throw those 3 for 3 in there.
Can't be mad at him though.
No, I can't. No, I think that's awesome, and it showed that he was able to come back. And he said that the limp was due to some cleat issues and not having put him on for a while. He says he's got a clean bill of health. He put on a really good interview for the ESPN Houston. I thought he crushed that interview. They asked him about Devontae Smith and does he deserve some credit for Devontae Smith's Heisman, and he beat that down and just talked about how awesome Devontae Smith is. It was a really good interview. He said all the right things in my opinion. But even if you want to take that national championship into account, still averaged 6.4 targets per game in 2020. So you saw him become the man. Now he didn't get to do that whole season, so you didn't see his college dominator go way up, but he was averaging 21 yards per reception. So and just crushing targets.
And that was up from 18 and 17. It's just crushing, and more crushing.
Right. And then for overall, right, you want to get.
Well, he basically in 2020 puts up numbers like he was putting up in all those other years in a couple of games, and then that you can kind of see that in the yards per target or in the targets per game, like you said, 7.3 from 4.0 and 3.1. So just being the man, showing you that he can be the man.
Right. And what's really impressive, maybe most impressive, is from a statistical standpoint, is how when his targets per game went up, his yards per reception went up.
Right.
What a stud.
Yeah, I mean, he's got over 1,000 yak yards in the career, 1,042.
9.8 yak per reception. So if you throw it to him and he catches it, which drops weren't really an issue. He had 4 in 2019, only 1 last year, 2 in 18. The drop rate wasn't terrible. Not an issue in my opinion. But if you throw it to him, he's probably going to catch it, and he's going to get 10 extra yards after he catches it.
Right. And then was 4th in the nation at yards per route run in 2020 with 4.38, courtesy of Pro Football Focus.
Right.
So this guy is he's got special traits, special acceleration, great long speed. And I think you can see it in a clip that we're about to show you here. Well, you've been seeing clips, but you're about to see one that made us excited.
Let's roll it.
All right, so you're going to see him at the top of the screen here. Got the little arrow. He comes out. Boom, boom, that double move. Woo!
Toasted, and then he has to slow down.
Tracks it, grabs it, re-accelerates. He gone.
That's so impressive. Like, we're going to get to see another look at this. And first off, he just crushes this guy on a double move. Forget about it. He's too fast. And then he has to slow down to an underthrown ball and then be able to re-accelerate to where none of these Texas A&M top prospect guys can catch him. It's incredible. What a job, Jaylen Waddle.
That's an SEC defense, some SEC speed that everybody likes to talk about. That's not Big 12 defense.
I think there's a lot to really like about what you see from this guy on film. Now, I'm not a professional. I don't know all the fancy terms. I hear, I don't know if he needs to be more efficient with his route tree stem release, or maybe he runs a bit too centripetal when he should run more centrifugal, or I can never get that word right. I can't identify some curvy linear movements, so we'll leave that one off the table.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's going to be all right, man. Like we're not fully driven by analytics. I like to see it and use it as a baseline and see what other people say about it. We're certainly not film scouts. Like we're going to watch all the film that we can watch. We're going to watch all the all 22s, because with receivers, face it, you need the all 22 to actually see what the hell's going on for a lot of the point, for me, at least anyway. And, we're going to build up our opinion, put the work in, and then you do with it what you will. Like, I'm not trying to tell you necessarily anything. I'm telling you what I learned, and I'm showing you the context. And I'm saying, I'm not dismissing analytics and saying, we made some jokes about it. Like, I get it. I understand the process there, but maybe we need just 100 of those guys and not 10,000 of them. Like, I only need a couple of analytical guys to then tell me what's up. And then,
right.
But anyway, same with the film guys too, probably. So,
right. Well, let me tell you what I did see with him on film. I mean, we obviously have talked about how fast he is. He's equally as quick, but he varies his play speed. He's not always going 100% until he really wants to or needs to. I love that he'll lay out to make a catch. Those speedsters like to run underneath it and score, which he does a lot, but he'll lay out and secure that catch. When the ball's in the air, it's his ball. And I'm really impressed with his ball tracking and contested catchability. There's a bunch of contested catches where he goes up over there's a play versus Missouri where he goes up deep down the middle and fully extends his body as he elevates through the air to make this contested catch while he gets railed by two guys either side of him. And you see him make the catch and immediately tuck it to embrace for that contact. And he treats the middle of the field like he treats a punt return, and there's no fear, and he's about to eat. And, he can make your day in one play. And I think there's so much more to go along with this game. And I'm really excited about this player.
Yeah, man. I mean, the NFL, like you said, NFL's changing, has been changing. You don't have to be as scared to go over the middle, which is, and do after the catch stuff and be a little smaller of a guy. And Waddle fits right into that deal. So I think that leads us right into
and real quick though, but he is a smaller guy. He's listed at 182. But he came into Alabama at 165. So you've seen him put on some weight, and maybe you can put on a little bit more, but like you said, it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, these smaller guys are having success in the NFL, and I don't see why he can't.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So
let's do the comp.
We're going to do a comp. We're not going to do a comp for everyone because frankly, I don't like, who is it?
It's the guy that's the metric outlier, right? It's gotta be. No,
it's not going to be. Nope. There's one of the. There's one.
Just one of those guys.
Myreek Schmill, and because we're not going to say his name on here. There's one of those guys. There's not any.
Myreek Ilhay.
Let's fucking stop it. There's one of those guys, and I typically don't like comps because I like every guy's their own guy, but you can pick parts and pieces from other guys. But for this particular guy, I'm going to go with Will Fuller. And before you give us a thumbs down or stop traffic or get upset about it, I like Will Fuller, but Waddle's probably a little more polished at this point in his career. Also probably a little quicker than Fuller. The thing with Fuller is that everybody in the stadium knew he was going to get the ball. He was going to deep. They were throwing it to him, and you still couldn't stop it. He has that crackhead speed. Waddle has that same stuff, but he has a little bit more juice to his shorter games and quickness, I think. So then if you look at the Will Fuller career arc, he wasn't the dude in the Texans offense when initially drafted, but he could still definitely make his impact felt in the blink of an eye. Now, he was a little hit or miss for you week to week in your fantasy lineup, and the volume wasn't really there, but he could still be effective with the looks that he gets. Now, you start to see a little bit of a change in the 2019 season with a little bit more volume, with him becoming a little bit more of the guy type player. And then 2020 happens where Nuke ships out. And now he's starting to get targets at all levels of the field consistently, not just the big plays, which he can still obviously do. But now all of a sudden he's exploding and probably playing the best football of his career. But then those pesky PEDs.
Yeah, you got to do those in the offseason, man, when they're not testing you.
But before that, Will Fuller was wide receiver 8 through 12 weeks, absolutely crushing. So definitely no shade being thrown at the Will Fuller comp. Like, does this career trajectory sound familiar? Like, it's exactly what we just fucking described to you. And then you can even comp like the body styles, fairly similar, height, weight, all that kind of stuff. Will Fuller ran a 4.3 40. I don't know exactly what Waddle's going to rug, but there's videos of him and Ruggs racing, kind of being neck and neck. So I'm not saying he's going to run a 4.2, but he's probably going to be a 4.3 type of guy, and can do a lot of similar things that Will Fuller, but plus more polished, more refined at this point. Now you could see a familiar
NFL trajectory
again. Like you're saying, I've seen him mocked to some teams, the Eagles at 6, the Lions at 7, the Giants at 11, the Pats at 15, all good because none of them really have alpha number one receivers. Eagles, maybe if you like Reagor. But all those guys probably have some quarterback issues as well. So, it could be a make your play in one day, play action kind of big D. Some days Waddle disappears, some day he doesn't, or he comes in there and just gets on the same page with the quarterback and they just eat. And I'm not sure if his time at Alabama lined up with any Jalen Hurts. I think it may have. So maybe if he does go to the Eagles, they have a little bit of time together. It seems like that's going to be what happens. But there's going to be draft capital with this guy. You're seeing he's a top 15 guy. There's going to be draft capital, and that goes into hit rates with all those guys. So go, make sure you check out all your analytical things. Top 24 PPR seasons, dominators, or la 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 la.
Just for reference, when he says hit rate, that's the percentage that a wide receiver will have one top 24 season in fantasy.
Right, and that's some people's breakdown. Other people have different criteria, so definitely make sure you go check all that analytical stuff out and read about it, because there is a lot of great stuff to be gained out of it, and it's great baselines and can help you make decisions, and then you can use the on the field to match up with it and see exactly. They're all pieces to the puzzle.
There's so much context that goes into this that you can't just figure it out with numbers. I'm sorry. I want to know about them. I want to know what they mean and how to use them, but they can't, for me, be the be all end all.
Right. All right. So DLF has this guy ranked as the 5th rookie overall with their rankings with the guys who work for their website.
Right. And then ADP just came out in February, the first ADP for rookies for the 2021 season, and he comes in at 9 average draft position.
Right. So a little bit of discrepancy there. I think he'll probably end up somewhere in the middle of that, then 5 to 9, which is probably about where I would end up with him. I don't have a firm ranking. I'm only through 3 or 4 receivers. I have done a decent amount of running backs, but we're not going to do rankings on here. You're going to catch that on the Patreon. We have a Discord channel over there. You can hit us with a $5 holler. We're going to be doing plenty of mock drafts, all for rookie season, all for regular season. There's a great channel over there. You can ask us questions. We're in the channel. Sometimes we answer, sometimes we don't. We're pretty active in there for the most part. Got a nice little community.
I stay in the trades chat for sure.
Yeah, and they have they've formed some leagues. We have some leagues with them. So a great little community going on over there. So be sure you go check out the Patreon side of things. Hop in the Discord chat as we do an extra show or two. We do some live shows. So all sorts of good stuff in there. Where would you have Waddle? I mean, obviously nothing concrete, but I think you're.
Yeah, I feel confident putting him as the 3rd wide receiver. I don't know how many.
Not even through them all, but ready to roll. I know.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a decent amount of Bateman, and I like Bateman, and I really like Rondale Moore, but I just think that Waddle's just a little more special than those guys, and he's got something that you can't teach or learn. And on top of that, he seems like a good dude, and there's enough production and stats there that we just went through that, and with the context of where he was and who he was doing it against, and I have no reservations about Jaylen Waddle. I'm excited. I think he's a stud, and I'll take Smith and I'll take Chase. I think there's a tier break, and if you want to argue those other guys, you want to take them, that's fine. I'm not gonna battle you too hard on it. But if I'm there right now, let me get Waddle as the 3rd wide receiver off the board for sure.
Word. Well, not quite ready to make that call. I think right now I'd have a couple. If we threw everybody in there
now, Casey, we need to know. We want the rankings. We want the early mock.
Well,
draft.
like I said, if we threw everybody in there, there'd probably be a 2 or 3 running backs, 2 receivers, and then so he would probably
Kyle Pitts,
maybe Pitts. So he'd fall in the 7, 6, 7, 8 range. So right in between where the pros at DLF have him ranked and the people, the peasants, have drafted him. So.
Well, they're supposed to be analysts or Dynasty Twitter guys anyway.
Yeah.
So we've let's cut this off. Let's wrap.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll be back with more wide receiver profiles for your pleasure.